Hi everyone. We'll be covering the sustainability challenges in the fast fashion industry. So what is fast fashion? The Commonwealth Human Ecology Council defines fast fashion as a mass production of clothes that follow the latest trends very closely at high speeds and low cost to maximize profits. It is different to traditional fashion in the sense that it involves rapid design, production, distribution, and marketing of clothing, with the goal to push a big variety and a big volume of products for differentiation at a low price. Examples of popular retailers in this industry include Zara, Uniqlo, Forever 21, and H&M. The problem with the industry is that it has a large negative environmental impact. An estimated 10% of the world's carbon emissions come from this industry, particularly from clothing and footwear production. Additionally, 92 million tons of waste is generated in this industry every year, and also 20% of the water pollution. There's more. 500,000 tons of microfibers from washing synthetics is released into the ocean every year, which accounts for 35% of microplastics released into the environment. Almost 80 billion cubic meters of water was used in textile clothing industry in 2015. To put matters into perspective, about 2.7 thousand liters of water are needed to produce one t-shirt, which is the equivalent of the drinking water that a person needs for 2.5 years. Another number, which is alarming, is that the amount of plastic used for textile production in 2016 was the equivalent weight of 163 billion fleece jackets, which translates into enough for 20 fleece jackets for each person on the planet.
When we talk about value chain of fast fashion, we need to know its production process. Here is an example of the mainly used material, polyester, to produce a garment. It comes from crude oil by extraction, refining, then polymerization, extrusion, spinning, and confection to get fabric. After dye, finishing, assembly, we got garment for distribution and retail. So it includes oil, chemical, textile, and clothing industries. Each step needs huge energy, water, and plant land. In the same time, it emits great CO2 since it's fossil fuel used. Dyeing and washing release water pollutions and huge microfibers, which are non-degradable. In this slide, we can see its whole global supply chain. The production and manufacturing are mainly in Asia, since this area has cheaper labor and fossil fuels. The US, UK, and Europe are consumption polluters. So in brief, we can get the main problems of this industry, which are huge carbon emission, poor labor conduction, water consumption and wastage, extensive land use, water and microfiber pollutions, and wasting resources in consumptions.
One of the key challenges of the fast fashion industries is the carbon emissions. 10% of human-related emissions come from fast fashion industry, and in 2018, these amounted to about 1.2 billion tons of carbon emissions, which is equivalent to 2 billion barrels of oil. There are three drivers of carbon emissions from the fast fashion industry. Number one is dyeing and finishing. The second one is yarn preparation, and the third one is fiber production. Another key challenge is the water consumption and wastage. Different materials have different water footprints, but most of them are water intensive. This industry consumes about 79 trillion liters of water, which is approximately 32 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. The second challenge is about microplastics pollution. So fast fashion causes water pollution through microfibers, toxic pesticides that are used to grow raw materials like cotton, etc., textile dyes. So fast fashion brands use synthetic fibers like polyester, which take hundreds of years to biodegrade. Even washing these fibers releases about 500,000 tons of microfibers into the ocean each year. This is equivalent to 50 billion plastic bottles. The third challenge is extensive land use. Materials most commonly used to produce garments all require extensive amounts of land. The fast fashion industry is projected to use 35% more land, that is 115 million hectares by 2030. And most of it will end up being wasted since 85% of textiles end up in landfills. The fourth challenge is resource overwasting. Companies have in the past been known to do horrible things such as burning unsold merchandise. The fourth challenge relates to the industry's impact on biodiversity. This is because the chemicals used are not biodegradable. The fifth challenge relates to unsafe and unfair labor conditions. To reduce production costs, fast fashion brands often rely on low-wage workers from developing countries. These workers tend to work in unsafe and exploitative conditions. The industry is estimated to employ roughly around 75 million people, 80% of whom tend to be women and sometimes children. Case in point is the collapse of Rana Plaza in Dhaka, Bangladesh, that killed 1,134 garment workers. The sixth challenge relates to animal welfare. Production of materials such as leather can lead to animal cruelty. The seventh challenge is about transparency. Fashion industry often lacks transparency, with brands failing to disclose their supply chain practices and supply conditions. This makes it difficult for the discerning customer to make informed purchasing decisions.
We propose some solutions for the problems previously explained. The first one is to use more sustainable materials. Fast fashion companies are working to source more sustainable materials, such as organic cotton or recycled polyester, for example. And by using these materials, they can reduce the environmental impact of their products. Another solution would be to ensure an ethical and sustainable production. Fast fashion companies are taking steps to ensure that their products are produced in an ethical and sustainable manner. This includes measures such as reducing waste, using renewable energy sources, or ensuring fair labor practices. Another solution is to recycle and upcycle. Fast fashion companies are exploring ways to recycle and upcycle their products to reduce waste. Some companies are using recycled materials to produce new products, and other companies are offering recycling programs to customers. Other solution is to design last longer products. Some fast fashion companies are designing their products to last longer, which can reduce the need for customers to purchase new items frequently. And finally, a last solution would be related to education and transparency. Fast fashion companies are working to educate their customers about the importance of sustainability and to be transparent about their sustainable initiatives. Here we can see some illustrations about the solutions we just discussed.
Hey guys, my name is Harsh, and I'm going to share some of the obstacles and gaps regarding addressing sustainability challenges in fast fashion. The industry is built on producing a large volume of clothing quickly and inexpensively, which often means compromising sustainability in order to keep costs low. One of the biggest challenges is the limited transparency in supply chains. Many fast fashion companies have opaque supply chains, which make it difficult to trace the environmental and social impact of their products. Additionally, the lack of regulation in the fashion industry when it comes to sustainability means that companies are not required to meet specific sustainability standards. Fast fashion items are designed to be worn only a few times before being discarded, which results in high levels of waste. The fast fashion industry promotes overconsumption and the constant need to update one's wardrobe, which encourages a culture of disposability and exacerbates the environmental impact of clothing production. It is important to understand that sustainability is a complex issue that involves many interconnected factors, including environmental impact, labor practices, and social justice. Addressing all of these can be a challenging task for companies, especially those operating in multiple countries with different regulations and cultural norms. Finally, we can see some of the potential solutions to address sustainability challenges in fast fashion from the standpoint of four decision makers here. The policymakers can introduce legislation and regulation, tools for better balance, and a slower system policy for extended product responsibility. The industry can take steps to prevent waste, invest in pollution control, avoid surplus production, and ensure supply chain transparency and close the material loop. And retailers can adopt new circular business models, introduce new pricing system that considers environmental impact of a product, and use eco-friendly disposal practices. Finally, consumers can extend the product use times and adopt a conscious and slower consumption approach. Here are a few examples of how some companies have adopted circular business models in their functioning. The first example is La Vie est Belle, a company that transforms used bike tires into fashionable belts, which helps it operate in a circular business model. And the second example is of Messica, which is a jewelry company that transforms LVMH dead stocks, which is stock that are not sold in season, to transform them into jewelry, which can be used by consumers. So these are the few examples of how companies can move to circular business models, and there is a need for us to see a greater push towards sustainability in this industry.